So box.
Hi, this is Rochelle, and you're watching Box F1 Pod. Welcome to the third race of the 2026 season and my first Box episode of the season, the Japanese Grand Prix. I had a bit of a family emergency, so was not able to do anything for the Chinese Grand Prix and the Australian Grand Prix, but I am back and ready to go. For the Japanese Grand Prix, we're going to be making Japanese souffle pancakes and sipping on a yuzu gin fizz. So crack one open. Oh my God. We're going to be talking about all the racing, all the non-racy racing. I'm going to be honest, I'm still wrapping my head around all the new rules and regulations, as are the drivers, so I'm feeling not that bad about myself. But it's been a journey trying to grapple with the new regulations. We're going to be talking about all of that. But first, as usual, we're going to kick things off with the digital warm-up. Lap one. All right, lap one. Jonathan Wheatley is leaving Audi as team principal. In his place, it's going to be Mattia Binotto, who was the head of racing Audi, but now he will also be, I don't know if it's temporary, but he will be stepping in as team principal. I'm not really sure why Audi thought this was a good idea, considering Mattia Binotto's track record as a team principal. I still don't think he's very good at the people managing aspect of things, which is a big part of the team principal thing, but we'll see how it goes. Can't get worse. Also, as you may have heard, the Bahrain and the Saudi Arabian Grand Prix have both been canceled due to the ongoing conflict in that region. So that means that we will have a race-free April. It means that the drivers have until May 3rd, I think, until they're back racing again. So the next time we'll be in Miami. A little crazy, I feel like, considering we just started the season and now we're getting like a month off. But, you know, maybe it'll give the teams to some time to catch up to Mercedes and figure out how to make these regulations work. But it won't be a content-free episode for me because I have some content catch-up to do, bar another family emergency. I'll probably be doing a couple of episodes. One, my standard primer episode before the season starts is usually when I release it, but it's a bit of the who's who of the paddock, get to know the teams, the new drivers, and also the attempt to get to know the new regulations. And in addition, we will be doing an episode, I think a short one, to catch up on everything that happened during winter break. So you won't get rid of me that quick, but the drivers themselves won't be back until May. All right. Lap 2, playing catch up on the 2026 season so far. So obviously not going to be doing a play-by-play, but just some of the big highlights. In China, Lewis made it back on the podium for the first time, I think in over a year. Because he didn't do it a single time during last season. Because his first comment when he got into the cool-down room was like, whoa, they made it really nice in here. I've never seen this before, which was kind of funny. But was very happy for him. It was good to see him back up there, especially in Ferrari. Because, we all expected... Actually, no. I didn't expect that much from him at Ferrari because Ferrari sucks. Or they did last year. This year, they're actually doing pretty good. But was very excited for him to be back up there. And another big moment in China, Kimi got his first race win. He is not the youngest. Max won at a younger age, but he got a bunch of other, don't worry, they'll make up stats. If he can't be the youngest at the basics, they'll make up the youngest in China, the youngest to ever win with this margin, the youngest to ever win wearing blue. No, but he actually did set some pretty great records, I think. First youngest person on pole, youngest person to win from pole, stuff like that. Because I don't think Max had, when he won, he didn't win from pole. It's been a pretty great moment for Kimi. I mean, Mercedes is really dominating at the moment, or compared to everyone else at least. They definitely have their issues, as we saw today. But it's been really nice to see Kimi thriving because he's just so cute and so small, and it's so nice to see him thrive. I cried when he won. Shocker to nobody. Oscar crashed before the race even started in his home race in Australia, so he didn't race there. And then there were reliability issues for both McLarens in China. So neither him nor Lando raced in China. And he actually posted a really funny Instagram sort of doing a dump of the last couple of weeks and captioned it, 2 weeks of watching F1. 10 out of 10. Oscar's a funny guy, guys. Speaking of people who are not having a good time, well, Oscar is now having a good time, but he wasn't previously. And who continues to have a piss poor time is Max. He does not like this new car. He does not like the new regulations, and he definitely doesn't like the car's piss poor reliability and like battery performance. Like he is not having a good time. For the record, Max was criticizing these regulations before he ever sat down in this car. He never liked them. He always had concerns about them. Just want to put that out there. However, obviously, I think being mid to low on the grid is not helping his mood at all. It's mostly car and these regulations, and he just can't get it to work, and he hates it. Like, he was raising his concerns about these regulations before the season even started. Then he sat down in a car and his concerns continued and his complaints continued. This was when all that drama was happening, when Lando was like, if he doesn't like the car, then he can retire. And then said that was just to piss the media off. And that he didn't mean it because he also doesn't like the car. So yeah, basically it's not like this energy is new for Max Verstappen. However, it's definitely been exacerbated by the fact that he is performing poorly and just like not having fun. We'll talk a little bit more about his feelings later, but I think what's interesting is what the other drivers are saying. And I think what we're hearing from them is a bit of a mix between trying to be more PC than Max Verstappen is, and then like how they're performing during the season. So, for example, Lewis at the beginning, Fernando, Lewis, and Max were all critiquing the car. And then Lewis started doing pretty good. And he's like, actually, this is so much fun. This is what racing should be. Fernando's still critiquing the car. Granted, Fernando's car is even worse than Max's car. So he has even more reason to complain. But I think coming from world champions, it says a lot about how good or bad the car is. But other drivers have also had like mixed feelings. They've all expressed concern with the cars, dislike with the cars, definitely dislike with the regulations and the safety safety concerns it brings up. There is more overtaking, which everyone wanted. The old cars you couldn't overtake, couldn't even really get close. With these new regulations, there's definitely more overtaking that's possible. However, as we saw today, that those overtakes, a lot of times it's part of their strategy. So like they'll let someone overtake them, and then to let that person's battery die out because they had to surge forward, and then they let their battery charge up, and then they go ahead. So like there's a lot of like, and it's a lot of time it's on the straights. Like I think only Ferrari really we're seeing corner overtakes. Like it's not the best racing, and also a lot of the drivers comparing it to like Mario Kart, which is funny, but Max obviously takes it a bit more to extreme. He's like, I might as well just be playing simulator at home. What's the difference? But you know, it's hard to say. And I think this is like, I don't think I was around for the first year of the new regulations last time. Like I wasn't watching yet. So I don't know if we had the same, like, this is the end of F1 and everyone was really dramatic about it. But that's definitely what's happening this time. And it definitely feels like a world of different. Like, the start is one of the craziest things I've ever seen. It is so slow. Anyway, long story short, jury's still out on these new regulations, what they mean for the future of F1. Will these drivers get used to it? Will Max Verstappen leave? Which he has full right to do. But we just don't know. Anyway, moving on. Lap 3, off-track F1. So first things first, Fernando Alonso has become a dad. Honestly, the first thing I saw something about this during the winter, and I was like, there's no way, because he said nothing. No one said anything. Then I saw a meme where it was like a news article that said Taylor Swift's ex becomes first-time father, and I was like, what? Like, he's not a father. Then it said that he was going to be late to the Japanese Grand Prix for personal reasons. And then he came, he's like, yeah, my girlfriend had a baby. So Fernando Alonso was the father. I thought there was like no way Fernando was ever going to be a dad. But he low-key went and had a child. His girlfriend's an F1 journalist from Spain named Melissa Jimenez. There are rumors that the child's name is Fernando Alonso. So all the jokes are, of course, now that we told you Fernando will be a rookie for like until 2050, assuming his child becomes a Formula One driver. But congratulations to Fernando. I honestly never saw him as a dad, and I was really hoping that this season would be good for him, but it seems like it just got worse. And I really would rather he not retire on like a low, but like, you know, he has different priorities now. Who would have thought we'd ever say that about Fernando? The quote that I found from him was to a Spanish news source, that it all went well. Fortunately for both the mother and baby are fine. A super happy, very special moment, and now back to work. Okay, thanks for the details. That's even less information than Max Verstappen gave us. In other news, Alex Albon turned 30. He went to Paris with Lily to celebrate, and he posted a very cute Instagram dump. His trip to Paris ended up getting him a shout out from Duolingo, who reposted his thing and captioned it. They photoshopped the Duolingo owl into the picture and posted, "Oui, Monsieur Alex Albon. I'll edit and practice my French for you anytime." That's kind of it for off-track F1, but we've got quite a bit of things happening in Japan. So let's move on to lap 3, trackside in Suzuka. So believe it or not, Kim flew out to Japan ahead of the Japanese Grand Prix to spend time with Lewis. I think her kids were also there, but she flew home before the Grand Prix started, which I kind of like. I think they're taking their time before she makes her trackside debut. I think honestly she'll be shown more than Taylor Swift was shown at NFL, which was not that much. But I think they're taking their time with it, keeping it private, as they call it. And honestly, I know a lot of people are really mad about this relationship, but I kind of love it. I think they make a really good couple. I think they make sense. I think they're both cool. They're definitely a vibe. I'm hoping that we get to see them make a debut at the Met Gala, because that would be dope. Anyway, that would be really cool. Anyway, I think that they make a good couple, and I think everyone who says they don't are wrong and just going off of deep dislike of Kim Kardashian for no reason. All right. In other news, back when Lewis was part of the Mercedes team, he had a tradition for the team to always go bowling in Japan. So Mercedes has George claims he's the one who keeps up this tradition since Lewis left and takes the team bowling. So they did it last year and they did it this year. But this year was kind of funny because a wild Carlos just appeared in all the content. There was a funny video of George like explaining, he's like, yeah, George, this is sort of Lewis's tradition that we've kept up since he's gone. But for some reason, Carlos Sainz is here. And Carlos Sainz literally was just bowling with the team and no one knows why. Which is kind of funny because we know it's not for like potential. I know he's not Williams and it's like a sister team, but like it's not like anyone else from Williams was there. And we know it's not like him like go because he's going to go to Mercedes, because there's no reason for Mercedes to sign him. And usually when that stuff is happening, they keep it more hush hush. Not this time, but Lewis has not given up on his own tradition, lying down. He takes the Ferrari team to go, and this is everyone, right? This is mechanics, marketing, behind the scenes, engineering, et cetera, et cetera. Everyone goes bowling. And so he's kept this tradition alive over at Ferrari. So him and Charles and the whole Ferrari team went bowling as well. There was nothing in particular I don't know if you can hear me over this. We're going to give it a go. This is nothing, there's nothing in particular that I want to call out, but Yuki was there doing his duties as a Red Bull rep in Japan. They put out a Yuki guide to Japan. And I love whenever Yuki appears on our screens. Oh, he did do this one video where they asked him mother, father, dog, and child out of Yuki, Oscar, Max, and someone else. I can't remember who, but he made himself the dad. He made himself the mom, so he could tell everyone what to do. He made Oscar the father. He made Max the child. And I think I can't remember who was the dog, but it was funny and not at all what I was expecting. As someone in the comments said, Yuki's mother would be happy with this. I mean, Oscar's mother would be happy with this. So Max got in a thing with a journalist. Basically, there's this British journalist whose name I don't remember. I apologize. Oh, I think it was Giles. Most British name ever. Who last year at Abu Dhabi asked Max in the last press conference how he felt about Spain, if he felt Spain ruined his chances at the World Championship. And that really pissed Max off last time because, of course, we couldn't see anything, but in theory, this journalist was smirking as he asked this question, which Max took offense to. And during the press conference, the individual press conferences of the drivers do, not the team, not the group press conferences, but in his individual one in the Red Bull paddock or whatever, when all those, when they showed the phones all shoved in his face, he was doing that, and he saw that journalist, and he's like, "I'm not saying a single word until that guy leaves." And the guy, and like the altercation, the conversation was posted multiple times where the guy was like, "Is this because of Abu Dhabi?" And he was like, "Yes, I'm not answering any questions while you're here." The guy said he meant no ill harm. It's his job to ask difficult questions. Max was asked about it by a different journalist who said that, and he said to that journalist that the reason it upset him is because he was smirking, and clearly the question was with ill intent. He was like, "I get asked stupid questions all the time. And I answer them because that's part of the gig," but he clearly had ill intent. He was trying to be malicious. And this was like the 30th time I've answered this question, and I've said I don't want to talk about it anymore. I've explained why that happened. I've apologized for it. Like, I was done. There was no reason for him to ask in the end of the year press conference again if I felt like I did that and then smirk. And he's like, and no one sees what's going on behind the camera, but I just don't want to answer his questions. I love that. I don't care if he's being a diva. I don't care if it's him setting boundaries. Max can basically do no wrong in my eyes. And that's toxic of me, and I don't care. Speaking of people who are a pleasure in the media, Ollie Bearman is also quite unhinged in his press content, but in a different way than Max. He just says the most ridiculous things. Like, one of my favorite things was last year when he didn't finish a race. He was asked why they retired the car, and he literally stared directly into the camera and went, then turned to his media person and like hid their mouths and like whispered something to her, and she whispered something back, and then he went back. He's like, "To conserve the engine," and that was it. That was the most PR thing he's ever done. I don't know. It was really funny to me. But this time, so this was actually in China, I think. He had an incident on track, and he was asked about it after in the media pen. And they were like, "So what about that incident?" He's like, "Oh, you mean when I almost killed him? I mean, fuck. I mean, that's not what I meant. What I meant was, damn." It was so funny. But today, or in Japan, the moment that was funny to me was during the press conference. He was asked if he's happy with how the season's going so far, because before Japan, he was 5th in the Drivers' Championship. And he was like, "I mean, yeah, like everything is going good. That we have everything to be happy. We have so much to be happy with, like the reliability." And then did the most, like, it was like the most audible side eye I've ever heard. Like, just fully like almost his whole body side-eyed Lando, who was sitting next to him, and then he starts giggling but keeps answering the question, like he never says it out loud. It was so funny. And then in other news, so the final thing I want to say is the Williams podcast is one of my favorite things that ever happens. It's just like, it just reaffirms how much I adore Carlos and Alex. Every time they're just left to just like talk, they just say something that makes me love them more. And it like reminds me why they're like personality-wise, I think two of my favorite people on the grid. But most recently, they were talking about their favorite TV shows that they were forced to watch as kids because of their sisters, and they just started listing like every show that I grew up on. There was a mention of Kim Possible, Hannah Montana, Lizzie McGuire, iCarly. I watch iCarly less, but I'm not a Disney Channel girl. But and then Carlos, like, you know, when Carlos starts thinking and his whole face is like, and he just fully doesn't process everything that's going on, and Alex is like still mentioning TV shows, and Carlos is fully zoned out. He's like, what's that show about the woman with tails? And Alex immediately goes, H2O. He's like, I like that one. And then Alex goes, oh, you know what else is good? That's So Raven. And then does the eye thing, like directly into the camera, like he's having a vision. So good. Okay, well, that's it for the digital warm-up. On to analysis. Gonna finish the egg whites, then I'm gonna push it all together. Fold in the cheese. Fold in the egg whites into the egg yolks, and then we're gonna fry. Oh, I forgot to add the flour there. Damn it. This is not going well. All right. Catch you in a second for the analysis. Bye. Okay, on to analysis. So, quali. Quali for this is a bit hard because, like, quali is when they're supposed to go all out, right? And with the new regulations, they really can't do that. They have to conserve their battery. There's a lot of, like, I think Alex said it, but he's like, there's a lot of thinking that happens that wasn't really happening as much before, because quali is supposed to be about going all out and not just like, they're just not able to go all out during quali, which is annoying. But two people who were most frustrated during quali was Charles on the radio said, I honestly cannot stand these rules in qualifying. It's a fucking joke. I go faster in the corners. I go on the throttle earlier. For fuck's sake, I lose everything in the straight. Which we still saw like in the race. Like they were overtaking. Ferrari always overtook in like corners, which made for really fun racing. But like everyone else is like sort of doing it in the straights. Or Mercedes is doing it in the straights, and no one really wants to see that. That's like not as interesting. That's just like taking over someone on the highway at that point. And then Alex on the radio was also really annoyed. He said, where was I slow compared to Carlos? And his engineer goes, you probably don't want to know, but you can probably guess. And Alex goes, yes, I complain for 3 races in a row that there is something wrong, but I'm sure that it's my driving style. Fighting words. Alex on the radio is still one of my favorite, like, I think it's my spirit animal, the way he is on the radio. But anyway, so quali is still like an interesting situation that I think everyone's still trying to figure out. No one's enjoying it per se, but anyway, the starting grid is as follows: Kimi, George, Oscar, Charles, Lando, Lewis, Pierre, Isaac, Gabby Bortoleto, Arvind, Max Verstappen, Esteban Ocon, Nico Hulkenberg, Liam Lawson, Franco Colapinto, Carlos Sainz, Alex Albon, Ollie Bearman, Checo Perez, Valtteri, Alonso, and Stroll. It's so funny. When I was writing up this list, I stopped at 20 and kept going. And then I was watching the race and I'm like, wait, I'm missing 2 people. And then I remember there's 22 drivers now, which is weird. So many new things to get used to. All right, moving on to the race. So before the race, the strategy that was expected was one stop and everyone started on the medium. So everything's the same there, which in the past, I think used to create sort of a boring race when everyone was on the same strategy. Didn't this time. It was an interesting race. There were a lot of overtakes. Is it what we want to see? Probably not necessarily, but it's what we get. So at the start, this was honestly my first time watching a race. And my first time like actually seeing the start happen in real time. And holy crap, that was one of the most ridiculous things I've ever seen. It was so slow. It's honestly how I look when I play Mario Kart. I can never figure out which button is supposed to make me go forward. So everyone leaves and I'm still standing there. And that's exactly what Kimi Antonelli was. Kimi Antonelli just did not move from where he was standing. And Oscar, Charles, and Lando all just like drove around the Mercedes, which Oscar immediately ended up in first, followed by basically I think Kimi was in fourth before the first turn, which was crazy. Anyway, so now like before we could even like blink, Kimi was in P6 and the new pecking order was Oscar, Charles, Lando, George, Lewis, and Kimi. What on earth were the two Mercedes? Although like Kimi has already overtaken Lewis before they even reached lap 2. Like the fact that even happened, like his start was so bad, but it's also like, it's not like he's the only one. And I've seen the clips of the other starts. Like it's so slow. And the fact that Oscar, I think it was almost like he was saving up all that energy. He was harvesting his battery for the last 2. I hate the word harvesting. It makes me so uncomfortable, but we keep using it, so it's fine. He was saving it up, obviously, for the last couple of races. And that move at the beginning was so good and so like monumental for his race. So after that, and towards the back, Max is working his way up from 11th. He's in 8th, like 10 laps in or something like that. Truly doing his best. Meanwhile, at the front, where Oscar is still leading, the commentators were so funny this race. As Oscar is attempting to keep the lead, one of them was like, Oscar checks his rear view mirror, and it is full of George Russell. Oscar was starting to feel comfortable with his lead to the point where he got on the radio and was like, so, hey, I think we could win this, basically is what he said. Let's avoid an undercut from George. They pit Lando first. Lando comes out. And then they pit Oscar, which is a little weird because Lando was pretty slow once he came out. It took a few laps for his tires to warm up. I don't know why they would do that to Oscar when they clearly saw on Lando how things went. But they did it to Oscar to avoid the undercut. Then George pits. And his call was a bit tougher to make because his main competitors are Kimi and Oscar. And the strategy for when he pits is different depending on who he wants to focus on. They ended up pitting, which no one could understand who that was focusing on because it didn't seem to be for Oscar or for Kimi, because he still had enough like life in his tires left to keep going, and like wasting that so early felt weird. But they pitted him, and then it went all tits up for George because then we had a safety car. Literally like a lap later, it was so frustrating. Like I felt so frustrated for George. Ollie, so it seems like Franco was conserving his battery, but there was no light blinking that he was conserving his battery. From what I can tell, and please again take this with a grain of salt because I'm still trying to learn the regulations, the speed at which when they're conserving their battery now is much faster than it used to be. But it's still like slower. And then and then Franco was in theory conserving his battery, but like in the middle of the road. And Ollie didn't realize that he was slowing down, swerved to avoid him, and ended up in the wall with a 50G impact. He had to go for an x-ray. I think he had a couple of contusions, but no fractures, thank God. It was just a really aggressive hit. But this in itself raises some of the concerns that the drivers had about the safety of these new regulations, because when you have to like harvest your battery in the middle of the track, it's dangerous, as we see here. Anyway, this obviously screwed George over a lot, and it really benefited Kimi, who could pit with no concerns, and come out on top, basically, and then he was in clean air, and then basically the race was done for him. Anyone who's, by the way, saying that this race win doesn't count because of this pit stop is stupid. So many people, like you have to still like maximize on the opportunities that are given to you. George on the radio literally swore, or at least they bleeped it out. I don't know what he actually said. And he was like, bad luck with these last 2 races. Unbelievable. And Toto goes, but see what you can do from here. But yeah, super unlucky. Really reassuring, Toto. Toto is always just like not supportive of George, it feels like. All right, so anyway, George was the most obvious loser. He was the biggest loser from the safety car, but there were other people who lost. A lot of people pitted right before because that was like the pit window. So a lot of people failed out, but Kimi was definitely the biggest winner out of all of this. Oscar also lost out because without that pit, Kimi would probably have to fight his way up to the front, which there's no guarantee that he wouldn't have done that. He probably easily could have done that, but there was a higher chance of Oscar winning without this safety car. But so is life. At the restart, the commentators mentioned that all of the drivers were getting reminded on how to handle a restart given the new regulations. So like all of the engineers were like, do this, make sure you don't do that, blah, blah, blah. And it's just like a reminder that every part of this race, from start to restarts to pits to saving energy, battery, like all that stuff is completely different, and they all have to like basically relearn. They're all like starting from scratch basically. Anyway, after the restart, Kimi was like flying ahead with all that fresh air. I think he finished like 13 seconds ahead. At one point, his engineer got on the radio and was like, so Kimi, let's try to slow down and like save your energy. Like there's no need to rush. You're like 13 seconds ahead. And then Kimi went and set the fastest lap of the whole race the next lap. So he's like, I'm not doing that, which I found funny. Most of everything post restart was just George suffering and the Ferraris having like the time of their lives with overtakes. It felt like there were like 50 overtakes. A lot of them are like what they used to call like the switcheroo, but for some reason we're not calling it that anymore. It feels like much more specific to this generation of era of racing. Where you like let someone pass and then you zoom past them because they've wasted all that energy trying to overtake you, and you saved up your battery by letting them pass and then you go. There was a lot of that. Charles had an incredible overtake on George at the very, very end, like in the last lap, I think. But poor George like did not see it coming, and it just went from bad to worse for George Russell. It was not great. In the same vein, it seemed like Oscar was letting everyone overtake him, but like intentionally, and then he was also able to go past them. It's like a very unique strategy. Also, the Ferraris are really good at overtaking on the corners. According to the commentators, and Mercedes is much more focused on the straight, like much more able to overtake on straights, whereas Ferrari seems to be one of the only ones able to overtake on the corners really well. Like before, also, some people had more power in the straight, more speed on the straights, more speed in the corners, but like it seems much more exaggerated in this new era of racing. But that was basically it for the whole. There was a lot of overtakes. Like Ferrari kept overtaking, and then it was mostly Ferrari. Lando overtook a couple of times, but in the end, like Kimi was just flying ahead. Oscar also wasn't really touched by these overtakes, but there were a lot of overtakes happening. But anyway, after the race, in the cool down room, Oscar at one point went, I can see what you mean about the mushroom, to Charles, because he referred to the boost thing that's new, that's replaced the DRS. I'm not calling it DRS, the boost system. He referred to it as like the mushroom in Mario Kart. And Oscar was like, I can see what you mean. Because Oscar had no idea since he has never raced yet. On the podium, it was, by the way, so weird hearing the Italian national anthem without Ferrari singing the whole thing. But it's also like so jovial. And then they played the German national anthem and it was so like stoic. Like very much capturing the vibes of the two countries. But it was just funny to hear it in music form. One of the funnier interviews from Oscar was when, in his post-race radio message, he went, turns out we're pretty good when we can start a race. That was pretty funny. Max, however, is just down. His big quote at the end was, but at the same time, when you're in P7 or P8 and you're not enjoying the whole formula behind it, it doesn't feel natural to a racing driver. Of course, I try to adapt to it, but it's not nice the way you have to race. It's really anti-driving. Then at one point, yeah, it's just not what I want to do. And of course, you can look at it and make a lot of money. Great. But at the end of the day, it's not about money anymore because this has always been my passion. As a kid, this is what I wanted to do. And back then, I had no idea what I was going to achieve and how much money you make. You never think about that as a kid. And it's also not about that. I want to be here to have fun and have a great time and enjoy myself. At the moment, that's not really the case. Of course, I do enjoy certain aspects. I enjoy working with my team. It's like a second family. But once I sit in the car, it's not the most enjoyable, unfortunately. I'm trying. I keep telling myself every day to try and enjoy it, and it's just very hard. Just my heart breaks for him because he loves racing. He loves racing. And for him to not be enjoying himself to this extent is sad. So the results for this race are Kimi, Oscar, Charles, George, Lando, Lewis, Pierre, Max, Liam, Esteban, Nico, Isaac, Gabby, Bortoletto, Arvind, Carlos, Franco, Checo, Fernando Alonso, Valtteri, Alex, and then Lance and Ollie both DNF'd. And in awesome news, this is Kimi is leading the World Drivers' Championship by 9 points, and he's the youngest driver to ever lead the Drivers' Championship, which is very exciting for him and very exciting for the poor stat interns who didn't have to come up with the most obscure stat of all time because it was just there on a platter for them. Anyway, that's it for the Japanese Grand Prix. Here are my very flat souffle pancakes. I tried. Next up is the Miami Grand Prix in literally May, and it is still March. So we're going to have a bit of a break from racing, but I'm going to be playing catch up, as I mentioned earlier. We'll be doing a Who's Who episode and trying to understand these regulations a bit better, and also doing a quick catch up on everything we missed during winter break and everything I missed during the first 2 races. So until next time, see you in Miami. Box.